Well, good morning. Welcome to another live this morning, question and answer Friday. Always good to be with you, dear folks. Say hello here. I'll take a minute or two till some people come on and make sure you can hear me and see me. And okay, we got some people coming on. Say hello. Rosa, good morning to you. And Andrea from Nouveau Brunswick and Nativity from Orangeville, right? Nick, good morning. Kim from Timmins, good friend from Timmins. Louise, bonjour Louise from Sturgeon. And Lucy and Jeanette, our staff is on this morning. Poor them, they have to listen to me every day. Well, they don't have to. Diane and Yolande, another good friend here. And good to have you on. Susan, a good friend from Florida. Okay, again, coast to coast. Good. John from Elgin, Illinois. Good to have you on with us, John. Marin, good to have you on. Sari, how are you? Sorry. And Shannon, Samuel from Salt Lake City, Utah. Good for you. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate that. And from coast to coast. And Oil Springs. Now, wait a minute. Betty from Oil Springs. Is that in Alberta? Tell me where that is. And Natalie, good morning to you. Arlene, how are you? And Faye and Elaine and so many on with us this morning. And Gerard from Windsor. Big crowd on. Good for you guys. Okay, Rebecca. Good friends. And Sheila, Kathy, Julie from Kincardine. Diane, good friends. What's that little place you're in, Diane? I can't remember. I know it's close to Cornwall. And Sandy and Heather and Rita from White Rock. And from New Brunswick, Judy. Good morning to you. Okay, so lots of good questions this morning. Shireen from Mississauga. And Oil Springs, Ontario. There you go. It must be near Sarnia or something, is it or no? I don't know where Oil Springs is. Okay. And Suzanne. Okay, guys, let's get to our questions this morning. I'm sorry I didn't say hello to everybody. And Luba, how are you? Okay, so here we go. First question is asked, and this is a very good question, by the way. The question was asked by Mel. About metabolic syndrome, and how do you know if you're doing the reset and after a month, how do you know if it's worked? That's a very good question. Okay, so let me just share this. I think it's important to, this came out this morning, so I just want to talk to you about the importance of taking care of metabolic syndrome, okay? So this is statistics in the USA, but let me read them to you. In the USA, only 12% of the population is metabolically healthy. Okay, and I'll go over this in a second, but let me just explain this to you. 50% of the population in the United States, these are recent statistics, 50% are either diabetic or pre-diabetic. 50% of the population has high blood pressure, 50%. And 50% of the American population is obese. Now those things, diabetic, pre-diabetic, high blood pressure, obesity, are part of metabolic syndrome. Okay, so that's really important to understand that. So the question is asked, well, how do I know if I'm getting rid of that? Well, some of them you'll know if you monitor your blood pressure. Let me just tell you what metabolic syndrome is, because there's a few other symptoms. Metabolic syndrome, by the way, is started with insulin. Okay, all of it is caused by insulin resistance. Okay, so if you have insulin resistance, you have metabolic syndrome. That's what causes inflammation It causes blood pressure. It causes fatty liver. It causes your triglycerides to go up and your HDL to go down. And I think I did mention belly fat. So those are the symptoms of metabolic syndrome. Imagine 88% of the population in the USA, it's no better in Canada, by the way. It's no better. I'm just giving you American statistics. 88% of the population have trouble with one or more of these symptoms. And remember, what is metabolic syndrome? It's elevated insulin. When you understand that, you understand where the problem is coming from. It's not genetics. It's insulin. Now, if you get elevated blood sugar, that's another one. I didn't even mention that. Your blood sugar can be elevated, but for some people, and I state this almost on a daily basis, your blood sugar is one of the last things to go south on you. Because your body is unbelievable. It will do everything it can to keep your blood sugar regulated. So what happens before blood sugar usually is that your blood pressure will go up. You'll start developing belly fat. You will start with high blood pressure. A lot of people, imagine 50% of the population have high blood pressure. A lot of people, and this is not really metabolic syndrome, but it's a symptom of insulin problems, have acid reflux. Acid reflux is insulin. 99% of the time. It's your body screaming at you, hello, hello, I have trouble with insulin. It's really the pancreas. It's not your stomach. It's the pancreas. Been secreting too much insulin for a period of time and you get acid reflux. This is the body screaming at you. Somebody was asking the question online yesterday about Dupuytren's contracture. You know what that is? It's when you get what they call trigger finger. Do you have a lot of tendinitis? Pain? Sort of unexplained? Even fibromyalgia? Elevated insulin. Get your insulin down. Change your diet. So, Mel, you asked a very good question. How do you know? Well, one thing you know, if you go 1 month, here's what you will know. You have cleaned your liver out. You've lowered your insulin. You've fixed insulin resistance. You fixed it. So don't go back to eating garbage. You can, introduce a few carbs now, but you're fixing metabolic syndrome, which affects 88% of the population, and only 12% are metabolically unchallenged. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that incredible? So think about that, okay? So, good question. All those symptoms. Lisa, she was asking about fasting causing gallbladder problems. Well, you know what, Lisa? It's just the opposite. Just the opposite. When people let me know they're having gallbladder problems, I say, well, you know what? 2 things. Stop eating at night. Stop eating at night. Give your gallbladder a rest. And do fasting if you can do it, intermittent fasting. So it's just the opposite. Now, listen, one thing can happen. If you lose weight rapidly, 2 things can happen in some cases, probably less than 5%. People can start forming oxalate, and with rapid weight loss, and sometimes they'll get a gallbladder issue with rapid weight loss, and they can get gout with rapid weight loss. It's rare, but it can happen. But gallbladder, remember what I've said, the gallbladder is to emulsify fat. The reason we see so many problems with gallbladder today is because people eat fat-free, especially women. And it's 90% to 10 gallbladder issues with women. Now, part of that is estrogen, but most of it is because they eat fat-free. They buy the lie that fat's no good for you. So they buy everything fat-free. Oh, doc, fat-free yogurt and fat-free this and fat-free that. It's nonsense. And then their gallbladder's not used. And guess what happens? Your gallbladder's a little pouch. It's a little reservoir for bile. If you don't use it, it can get gummed up with stones. You need to use it. Your body was made to eat fat. Yeah, your body was made. You got an organ. Your gallbladder is an organ made to eat fat. And usually fasting helps the gallbladder, okay? So, look, I guess there's odd exceptions to that. But not many. I get people, somebody asked me earlier, or at least it's one of the questions, so let me answer it now, about hiatus hernia. Well, can you fix a hiatus hernia? Well, you can put it to bed. I don't know if it actually leaves, but hiatus hernia, just stop eating at night. Don't eat past 5 o'clock if you can. Never have a meal late. It'll help with hiatus hernia. Raise your pillow a little bit or whatever. But if you don't eat at night and lower your insulin, hiatus hernia usually gets a lot better. It's like the gallbladder. Give it a rest. Give it a rest at night. Okay? So, good question. Cyst development. Rachel was asking about. She's got a lot of cyst, and you can get sebaceous cyst on your scalp, and I guess she has them all over her body. And the question is, well, everybody's different, right? Some people just have a propensity to make cysts. I believe sebaceous cyst, by the way, is all estrogen. It's all estrogen. So lower your estrogen. There's two hormones that make things grow in your body. One is insulin, and the other one is estrogen. So lower both of those. Get your estrogen down. Xenoestrogens. Almost every plastic and whatever in our society today, all your cleaning products and hand sanitizers, these are all they're called xenoestrogens. If you can't pronounce what's on the label, it's estrogen. It looks like estrogen to your body. It isn't estrogen, but it's a xenoestrogen. That makes things grow. That's why women get breast cancer and men get prostate cancer. It's estrogen. It's a growth hormone. And the other one is insulin. Insulin's a growth hormone. You need to lower that. Insulin is food, so just lower your carbohydrates and cut out your sugars, and you'll lower your insulin. Estrogen, block it as much as you can. Yesterday I was talking to you about Dr. Martin's Perfect Smoothie. Well, use flaxseed. Don't grind them up. Flax seeds contain lignans, L-I-G-N-A-N-S, lignans, and lignans block estrogen. Our hormonal formula has DIM, D-I-M, which blocks estrogen. Block your estrogen, ladies. Block the extra estrogen. Estrogen makes you a woman, makes a man a woman too. When a man gets prostate cancer, he's got too much estrogen. More men at 50 years old have more estrogen than their wives. It's incredible in our society today. And if you got belly fat, if you have fat around your organs, guess what? They release a hormone. Estrogen, fat holds on to estrogen. Yeah, that's why women, you're not going to have the same body fat percentage as a man. You're not supposed to. You're a woman. You need estrogen. The problem is when we have too much estrogen. So, Rachel, if you have cysts, cut down your estrogen and cut down your insulin. Those are the two growth hormones that make cysts grow. And by the way, a lot of times cysts too can have to do with leaky gut, fungal, okay? Get rid of that candida, get rid of that yeast, and don't feed the bears. Don't give them sugar. Doreen's asking about memory loss, short-term memory loss. Can I just say something about memory loss? Guys, What happens in the 40s? What happens in the early 50s? Start early. Start early on your brain. And remember one thing about your brain. Your brain actually, if you eat sugar, you have sugar, your brain will say, sugar, come here. Your brain, even though it's very small, okay, and I'm not insulting you, you just have, like compared to your brain's small, but it will take up to 20% of your energy from food because your brain is headquarters. It will take, so if you give it crappy food, your brain goes, give me that fuel. Even though it doesn't like it, it doesn't matter. If that's what you're eating, your brain will say, come here. The problem with that, think about this for a minute, what sugar does inside the brain. Sugar saturates your memory cells in the hippocampus. Because your brain says, okay, you want to give me that? Come here, I'm going to take it and I'll soak it in. Here's the problem with the memory cells. Sugar destroys your memory cells. And listen to this. After a period of time, if you are metabolically challenged, and that's insulin resistance or high circulating insulin, insulin can no longer travel across the blood-brain barrier. You have a barrier in your brain like you have a barrier in your gut, between your gut and your blood blood and your brain. It's called the blood-brain barrier. And the blood-brain barrier is a protective barrier. It's made up of bacteria, a microbiome around your brain. Oh, wow, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Unbelievable. But if you develop insulin resistance, now guess what? You know what insulin's job is? You guys know that. It's the traffic cop. It's directing sugar outside your bloodstream. Never forget that. Insulin's job, primarily, is to take your sugar out of your bloodstream and store it. And store it. But the problem is, if you have insulin resistance, you don't know this, but now your insulin can't, the traffic cop, it's like, let's defund. You know what? I think I'm going to do a whole thing on this. I just thought of something. You know, in the United States, you're talking about defunding the police. I think I'm going to use this. Folks, don't defund the police, because if you got insulin resistance, the traffic cop can't get into your brain to say, sugar, get out of here. Come with me. You're going to park over there. Get out of the brain. You like that? I like that. Don't defund the police. Okay? I'm not trying to be political. I'm just using statements. Okay? So, I kind of like that. So remember that. Your hippocampus. Don't forget that word, campus. It's easy to remember. Two big centers in your brain. Hippocampus, memory center. Hypothalamus, hormones. For your thyroid and your adrenals and your ovary. All of that comes from headquarters. Two main areas. Hippocampus, memory. Hypothalamus, hormones. Got that? It's going to be on your test next week. You guys are smart, so you already know that. Okay. Always need the police, Angela says yes. And you need the traffic cop. It's called insulin. But when you get insulin, see, if you use your pancreas too much, this is why the reset is so good for you. Because what are you doing? You're giving your pancreas a rest. You're regenerating it. Very, very, very good questions this morning. Faye's asking about my migraines. And Faye, I would just direct you to a podcast that I did on migraines. But let me just go over it. Find your triggers, okay? Find your triggers. Number one, number two. Again, it comes back, it's simple. To me, it's simple, but let me just share this with you. Migraines. I look at triggers. A lack of water. A lack of magnesium. Okay? Because that causes resistance to vasodilation in the brain, dehydration. And dehydration, water, vitamin W, electrolytes, magnesium. And guess how you lose, okay, this is very important to understand this. How do you lose magnesium, potassium, chromium? How do you lose that in your body? How do you get rid of that? When you eat sugar. When you eat sugar, you're getting rid of some of your minerals. Why is that so hard? Because it can trigger a lot of things, including kidney stress and migraine headaches. And you know what? Part of estrogen dominance is migraines. Thousands of women over the years have got rid of their migraines by getting their estrogen down, fixing their estrogen. Okay? So find your triggers. Oh, and one of them I talked about, I can't remember, it's got to be a couple of weeks ago now, I think, about vitamin K2. It was a new one. I never considered it before, honestly. And vitamin K2 you find in butter, in cheese curds, eggs. The best source, by the way, is butter and cheese. Why do I say eggs, meat, and cheese all the time? Vitamin K2. You ladies and your K1. How do you get K1? In salad. K2 is in eggs and butter and cheese. K2, you need K2. You know what K2 does? It helps to get rid of arterial stiffness caused by calcium staying in your... Don't take calcium as a supplement. #1 selling supplement for women. Still. They're not listening to me. Stop taking calcium. You don't need calcium. Eat your calcium. Eat your calcium and take vitamin K2 by eating your butter and cheese. I put our K2 right in our vitamin D because it helps with the absorption of vitamin D. But one of the things in migraines, the study came out, is arterial stiffness by a lack of vitamin K2. You know why women are so low in vitamin K2? They don't eat enough eggs, meat, and cheese. And they eat too much sugar, and sugar takes out magnesium from your body, and chromium from your body, and potassium from your body. Essential minerals that your body needs. And selenium. Okay. Somebody is asking, good question, Faye. Someone is asking, I didn't write the name down, I should have. Glycine as a supplement. Well, look, glycine is an amino acid. It's a very small amino acid. I like glycine, by the way. L-glycine, okay? But, like somebody says, well, how about that for sleep? Well, you could try it. I got no issue if you want to try it. I like glycine because it's found in collagen. And collagen is found in bone broth. So folks, either make bone broth or take it at, I love that bone. Did you guys, some of you guys tried it yesterday. Dr. Martin's Perfect Smoothie, did you give it to your kids or grandchildren? With bone broth? If they never had a good meal, if you gave them that, they're going to have one heck of a good meal. It is a tremendous meal replacement. 35% cream, heavy cream. Okay. So, look, if you want to try glycine as a supplement, I find that to take it as an individual supplement, I never found it to be that effective. It's like melatonin. Like melatonin, you know, some people, they swear by it for their sleep, but you know, after a while it usually stops working. I like the sun for your melatonin. That's how you make melatonin. It's what I'm out in this morning. I'm in the shade a little bit here because I gotta be. My phone would fry up. We've had a heat wave here. It's been incredible in Northern Ontario. Okay, so very good question about glycine. Here's another one. High iron. Well, you know what? I see a lot of that today. They call it hemochromatosis. High iron levels. Ladies, it'll happen to you, but it happens more in men. And the reason they get it is because they got fatty liver. Because they're carboholics, or they're drinking too much alcohol. The liver is a suitcase. When the liver gets full, you get fatty liver, and most people don't even know they have it. I mean it. They don't know. There's no symptoms at first, but they might get hemochromatosis as one of them. Okay? So, cut out the sugars, cut out the carbs. You'll clean out your liver. I love that. Drink lots of water. Filter that blood out. Get rid of that iron. COPD. Well, the key with COPD, remember what it is. It's chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, right? It's chronic. Try not to get there, of course, but if you do get there, the biggest thing, leaky gut, leaky lungs. So clean, you know, a lot of good probiotic bacteria, because that helps to line your lungs too. One of the things that gets in the lungs is mold. That's a big issue. It's a huge issue. A lot of people don't realize that they've been exposed to mold. It gets into their lungs, and nobody's ever told them, so they don't know what to do about it. Okay, but one of the things that you really got to watch with your lungs is mold. Candida, yeast, fungus. Mold is a fungus. So start with your gut with probiotics, and don't feed the bear. Go on a very, very anti-inflammatory and antifungal diet. Cut the sugars right out of your diet as much as you can for that, okay? So a lot of times it's caused by that, okay? Somebody's asking here about, again, I forgot to write the names down. I did it at the start and I haven't done it here. Occasional use of ibuprofen. Yeah, occasional. Yeah, if you got to take it. Be very careful with ibuprofen or whatever, and non-steroidal anti-inflammatories like Advil and things like that. They destroy your friendly bacteria like an antibiotic does. So you want to regenerate that, and be very careful. Try and go natural as much as you can. But the odd time, if you take an Advil or Tylenol or whatever, look, don't make a habit of it. I know people live on that stuff. That is so destructive. It is so destructive to the body. It is so hard on your liver, so hard on your kidneys. It destroys your microbiome. But occasionally, it's like an antibiotic. Look, if you have to take an antibiotic, I'm not against that. But even if you're taking some occasional ibuprofen, make sure you're taking a probiotic, okay? Very, very, very good questions again this morning. Yellow eyes, liver. You got a little yellow tinge in your eyes, your bilirubin is high. If your bilirubin is high, you got liver stress and you're on your way to fatty liver or cirrhosis of the liver. Okay, be very careful with that. And again, diet. It's your body screaming at you. Someone was asking about the weather and MS. Now, MS is muscular, okay? MS, what did they say about MS? I mean, this is 30, 40 years ago, they said. It was much more prevalent in past, I can't even remember what parallel was it, 38? If you were north like we are, you're much more prevalent to getting MS. And why? Low levels of vitamin D, well established. Now there's other things going on with MS, but for heaven's sakes, and why is it more common even in the south of the US of A now, where it never used to be? Why are you getting a lot of MS in Florida and Texas and Arizona and that? Because people are scared of the sun. They bought the lie of the 1970s, stay out of the sun. My generation and the generation before me, hook, line, and sinker about the sun. They don't go in the sun. Floridians are the worst. They're scared of the sun. Or they use sunscreen. And they don't lie in the sun anymore. Okay? So that's one of the reasons that MS is so prevalent in the South where it never used to be. Okay, let me do these quickly here so I can get right through it. Well, two more. One of them is on sea moss algae. What do I think about that? Well, listen, I have an algae in my inflammation formula, so I like it. Again, do you take it on its own? Probably not. Okay, like I don't like. A lot of times when you hear me I being negative, it's not because I don't like them. It's just I found in my experience that if you take it alone, it doesn't do much. Like you would never line up sea moss, which would give you iodine too, by the way. And I got no problem with that. I like iodine. It's not in the soil anymore. So I'm often, this is why in our thyroid formula, I'm often using iodine. I like iodine. Okay? A lot of women never get enough iodine for their thyroid to function properly. It's one of the reasons you see such a... Iodine's no longer in the soil, just due to fertilization and that in the soil. Iodine is deficient, and people stop using salt, iodized salt, because they think it's bad for their blood pressure. They don't put salt in their food anymore, and then they're low in iodine. So sea moss would give you that. You ladies and your salad. Would you eat sea moss? I don't know. I won't. I like high DHA oil better, okay? I like the actual fish oil, in my opinion. It's got the longer chain fatty acids, so better for you. Okay, so very good question. I appreciate them so much. One was asked about stevia. This is it's a popular thing today, stevia, right? A lot of people, look, even natural sugars, sweeteners, not sugars, but natural sweeteners. Okay, like xylitol and anything when you see an OL at the end, it's usually a sugar alcohol. And it's not sugar and it's not an alcohol, but they call it a sugar alcohol. And they use it like xylitol in baking and all that. Couple of things. One, they're starting to show now that unless it's erythritol, most natural sweeteners like stevia, it still has a tendency to elevate your insulin. So when you go on the reset, look, if you absolutely have to use stevia, use it. But you know what? If you're asking me my opinion, I would tell you, look, if you can get away without using it, I know it's better than sugar. I get it. It is better than table sugar or high fructose corn syrup. But the newest research is saying something that it has a tendency maybe not to elevate your blood sugars, but it will elevate your insulin. And remember, insulin's the baby. That's your key. So again, like you might even chew on sugarless gum. Right? Problem is, you're still producing, even if it's not much, you're still producing some insulin with that. And I'm trying to get you to lower that insulin. So again, if you're going to do it, try and do it in limited version. Okay, last question. Terry, I wrote your name down. I don't know why. Okay. They're asking about if I have to take a statin drug. Statin drugs are cholesterol-lowering medication. If I have to take that, my pharmacist even said, okay, take CoQ10. Now, what is CoQ10? CoQ10, your body makes CoQ10. The problem is, as you get older, and if you take a statin drug, you're not getting CoQ10. And CoQ10 is for your mitochondria, especially in your muscles. And this is why a lot of people have muscle weakness when they take a cholesterol-lowering medication. They're called statin drugs, like Crestor or Zocor or Lipitor. Okay, Lipitor, the #1 selling drug of all time. #1, imagine, to lower cholesterol. So, if you're taking that medication, yes, you need to take coenzyme Q10. Now, by the way, how do you get coenzyme Q10? I'm waiting for the answer. How do you get it in food? How do you get CoQ10 in food? Vitamin S, steak. You get CoQ10 in steak. So I would rather you eat your CoQ10. But if you have to take, if you are on a statin drug, you should probably take some CoQ10 on your own, besides eating lots of steak. So how do you do that? Well, get CoQ10, but make sure there's 2 types. There's ubiquinone and ubiquinol, OL. Ubiquinol is the one your body absorbs. So make sure, read the label. Is it ubiquinone CoQ10 or ubiquinol CoQ10? Take the ubiquinol. The ubiquinone, your body don't even absorb it. It's like vitamin D2. If you eat cereal and it says on the box, oh, it's been fortified with vitamin D2, you ain't getting it, because you don't absorb it. You need vitamin D3. How do you get that? From the sun. Or a supplement of vitamin D3. Okay, thank you very much. Very, very, very good questions this morning. We really appreciate it. If you get a chance, share this on Facebook with your friends and family. And next week, I think we're probably going to do a question and answer session during the week live on Zoom. Tony Jr. and I. Okay? I think we're going to do it next week. He's the boss. I got to wait for him. Everything else, guys, we appreciate. If you have any questions, remember, don't be shy. Ask your questions. We love you guys. Talk to you soon.